You are Locked On Bulls Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Chicago on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Bulls Postcast here on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel, Locked On Bulls audio feed as well. We go live after every single Bulls game, Bears game, Cubs game, and Notre Dame game next season. So come on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Come vent in the comments because, boy, oh boy, the Bulls lose 131-106 to the Golden State Warriors. They move to 19-26 on the season. Joe George here with you. Today's episode is sponsored by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. So, disaster second half for the Bulls. Look, this is a good game in the first half, but we'll talk about really what happened in this game, losing to a bunch of nobodies. It's not just losing to the Warriors. This isn't Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and Steph Curry. This is guys named Post, who I've never heard of before, who is hitting more career threes in this game than he's had in his entire career. A bunch of nobodies just kicking the Bulls' ass tonight in this game. Some interesting criticism I want to hit on from Adam Amin. They specifically said it's not criticism. It's more an observation. I take it as criticism from those guys towards Billy Donovan and his strategy with this team. And then as we will do the rest of these Bulls games, we'll do the best and worst. A lot of worst moments from tonight's game. Look, the Bulls are competitive in the first half. What's up, man? Nice to see you in here. Samity, I think I said your name correctly. Second half, tough watch. Yeah. Man, look, man, these games, like you're starting 9 o'clock Central Time. You're having that performance in the second half. No wonder people don't want to stay up and watch you, man. Like a good first half here for the Bulls. I mean, it is, 64-63 at the end of the first half. Zach LaVine doesn't score until like 5.5 minutes left in the second quarter. He scores 14 points. But then in the second quarter, the Bulls come out and they score 16 points in the third quarter. They outscored 31-16. They outscored 37-26. And I apologize if I butchered this stat because it kind of blew my mind as Adam Amin was saying it. So I believe this is correct. They said on the broadcast, this is the second time in the last 40 years the Chicago Bulls have allowed 80 bench points to a team. 80 bench points to a team. That's what they allowed. Like, this is nobodies that are crushing you. I mean, we knew the Bulls season was unraveling, but to have guys out there where you have a night where Steph Curry is getting opportunities, like he takes three, there's multiple times in this game, right, where he took a three, he bricked it, the Warriors get the offensive rebound, he takes another three, he misses the next one. So it's not like you're getting, the like 15th, 20th anniversary of Kobe Bryant scoring 81. Like, it's not like Steph Curry's out here dropping 60 on you. It's a bunch of guys who are on two-way contracts who have played less than 10 games this season, who the Warriors season is pretty much like on the brink. They're now a 500 basketball team. They've got this 6-game stretch at home leading into the trade deadline. Like, their season is pretty much on the line. And really, so is the Bulls. I mean, the 76ers have so many injuries that just like, they're going to be a play-in team unless they blow it up. And even if they blow it up, like, they might find their way out of it. I mean, they'll obviously go home in the first round. I totally agree with Will in here in the chat. And we're going to be as interactive in these postcast shows as humanly possible. Will says they need to hurry up and make a trade. Totally agree. I mean, it is just strange hearing a broadcast talk so openly still. I think I've said this before. It's not typical to hear a broadcast from the play-by-play, color analyst, sideline reporter to just talk so openly about, a team that is trying to trade Nikola Vucevic to the team you're playing that night, that they are just full out acknowledging it, that they're talking to Zach LaVine and how, Reggie Miller had his dream trades for the Lakers, and he has Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic as his dream targets as part of the Lakers for this year. It is just such a weird thing to witness because it just feels like they're only doing that because they've been given the green light, is my opinion, of like, just, hey, go ahead and talk about it. Like, these things are going to happen. So I totally agree with you, Will. Like, because we're going to talk about this more in the second segment with the criticism that we heard from the broadcast, and I think it's a great point, and that's why we're going to kind of dive into it ourselves here on the show about not playing the bench, not playing the young guys. And really, the worst part about not playing the young guys is the fact that you're playing these games, and when you're getting run out of the gym by the Warriors bench, because the Warriors starters weren't good either, right? Like, they were not good to start this game. They were fine, obviously, but they weren't having some incredible night. It's the bench unit that saves them in the first half and takes it away in the second half. And most of that's happening against your starters. Like, it's not just like, it's not Julian Phillips and Modest Buzelis and, these guys getting worked by Warriors two-way contract players. It's the starters. It's your starters who are taking terrible shots. Like, the one note I had here that really stood out to me for part of the worst things that I'll mention again later is the Bulls at one point get down 16 points. So it's the most points at that point in the game they had been down. The Bulls' decision, their response, is to immediately run down the court, throw it to Josh Giddey, who's not even fully in the corner. He's in like that weird in-between area, which is not a great shot in itself. And he rips a three within 5 seconds of the shot clock. So, like, that's your decision when you're down by 16 is let Josh Giddey, who was great in the first half. He had 10 points, 8 rebounds in the first half. He was all over the place. He was playing really good defense, really good offense, and then he poofed in the second half like most of these guys did. I mean, look, the Bulls started this game really strong. I mean, at the end of the first quarter here, you have, 6 guys who have 5 points or more on this team. So that's all your team is contributing. You're getting stuff from everyone but LaVine. You're getting points from Vooch. You're getting pretty much from everyone. I'm thinking about Nikola Vucevic's night. Vooch starts the game with 7 of the Bulls' first 15 points in this game. So he is immediately involved in the offense, which we know is the only key to success the Bulls have. So 7 of the first 15 points come from Vooch on the night. He ends up with 9. 9 points on the game is what Nikola Vucevic ended up with. So he completely they stopped going to him. He's not shooting the ball like poorly. He's 4 of 9. So he's literally just not taking shots. How was that anything of what a good idea could be for this team? And I really do agree with what people are here saying in the chat of just like, get the trade going, get the rebuild going, because I can stomach these games better as a fan of the Chicago Bulls if they're getting dominated by the Golden State Warriors and Modest Buzelis is out there for most of the game. If, Dalen Terry is out there for most of the game. If Io is playing the most minutes of all the guards. Like, I can live with that. I can live off the idea of, like, through the lens of a Chicago sports fan right now, being like, this is what a rebuild is supposed to look like. Like, we see what the Cubs have done in the past. We see what the White Sox have tried to do, what the Blackhawks are currently trying to do, what they did successfully to win their Stanley Cups, what the Bears are trying to do, not doing great either themselves. But the Bulls are like, with the roster that pretends it's supposed to win, but does things like this. So I'm all for, really at this point, I'm ready. I'm ready for the deadline to be here. And I know it's quiet around the NBA. I hope that the front office is just loading up on these conversations and just ready to go. But it is really astonishing that when you're playing a team like the Golden State Warriors and they're missing Draymond Green and Buddy Hield was not particularly good in this game. He was actually terrible. He was 1 for 7. He was worse than I thought he was. He's 1 for 7. I mean, Steph Curry he has 21 points, but you're letting this post guy who had 3 career 3-pointers coming into the game. He goes 5 for 10 or 20 points, looking like he's Dirk Nowitzki out there. You've got this, Santos. He's got 5 threes on the night. I watch a lot of basketball. I have no clue who these dudes are, and they're absolutely cooking the Chicago Bulls. That's just sad. It's just sad basketball. Thought it might get bad this season. And also said by Samity here in the chat, what a contrast of game this was versus the Clippers. I really don't understand. That's why they're one of the more bizarre teams I think I've ever watched as a Chicago sports fan. To have the Clippers game, to then play the Warriors coming off a back-to-back and have this level of performance in the second half. Like, I don't know. I hope Zach LaVine golfed well the other day, because that's pretty much all I think that could have gone well for him on this trip. I guess he played good in this game. I'll give Zach LaVine credit for this one. He played good in this game. Not his best basketball, but to not score until there's 5.5 minutes left to go in the second quarter is still a bizarre thing that we've seen a couple times in recent weeks. All right, let's talk about some of this criticism or observation we heard on the broadcast about Billy Donovan, because I think it really shows in a loss like today why playing your bench more can work. Not a guarantee. But also just, I don't understand why you don't play these guys when you're getting cooked like the Chicago Bulls were tonight. We'll get into that next year on the Locked On Bulls postcast on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. Therapy is a game changer. It can help manage stress, improve sleep, and communicate more effectively. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge. That's where TALKSPACE comes in. TALKSPACE, the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. With TALKSPACE, signing up is simple. You can match with a licensed therapist who fits your needs, usually within 48 hours, and it's convenient. You can have sessions from the comfort of your home and even message your therapist between appointments. Plus, TALKSPACE is covered by many insurance plans, and for most insured members, there's $0 copay. It's never been easier to prioritize mental health. As a listener of this podcast, you'll get $80 off your first month with TALKSPACE when you go to TALKSPACE.com/LockedOnNBA and enter promo code SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to TALKSPACE.com/LockedOnNBA and enter promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's TALKSPACE.com/LockedOnNBA, promo code SPACE80. So very end of the broadcast there, Adam Amin and Stacey King start to talk about, what's going on in this game, obviously, as it's getting away from the Bulls, they have a good lead. I mean, they start the game 20-6. So they're up by 14 to start the game. But as we just mentioned there at the end of the last segment, these nobodies for the Warriors are just absolutely dominating you. And Stacey and Adam start to have this conversation about the bench unit and the role that they're playing or not playing for this team. And it is a criticism that I think is important, or as they said, an observation, because not just for this game, but really as we talk about the trade deadline and you think about who's going to be on this team and off this team, it is frustrating watching Billy Donovan's, second unit clearly have no idea what's happening. Like, it doesn't matter if Kobe White's all healthy or hurt, or Alonzo's hurt, or Alonzo's healthy, or Patrick Williams, all these guys who have missed time this year. It's so unclear. It's so clear that there's no defined roles for who's coming off the bench. Now, part of that might be, it's part of their performance. Like, I'm not here going to pound the table and be like, Modest Buzelis deserves to play all these minutes. Or Javon Carter, who hit a three after the Bulls missed 16 straight. In the second half, he needs to be playing more minutes. All those things are great ideas. But I do think that, Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips, Io, if he's coming off the bench, whatever his role is on any given night, Modest Buzelis, Jalen Smith, I just think they would benefit more if they just had a consistent plan. If they just had made a plan of, what they were going to do on a night-in, night-out basis, and they stuck to it, at least there's a logic behind it. It really feels like Billy Donovan, every single night, is just rolling the dice or just picking up cards and just being like, oh, yep, Modest Buzelis, you're playing 7 minutes tonight. Oh, the next night, you're playing 22 minutes. There's no logic. There's no reason behind it. So I think it's interesting that on the broadcast, they're pointing this out because it's a great point for this game. When, you see the Warriors offense struggling, the bench unit comes in, a bunch of guys who are scrappy and are trying to prove their worth in the NBA, like this Post guy, and they're doing that. They're proving. I mean, they're joking they're joking there at the end about well, maybe they don't need Nikola Vucevic if this guy's going to play like this. They're not being serious, obviously, but those are the reference points that they have, and I think it's a great point that they referenced. When the Warriors won 15 games that year, a couple years ago, a handful of years ago now at this point, and that's where they discovered Jordan Poole. That's where they discovered guys that as they got healthy and they got better and everyone returned, and their core group was back in action, they had defined role players that were growing and developing and in a position that they knew what they had in them. How can the Bulls, right now, at, what is it now? Sorry, I got to double check the terrible record here. 7 games below 500. How can you have any idea, what Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips and Modest Buzelis, what they are? I mean, it was 2 games ago where Julian Phillips doesn't check in until the third quarter. And not that any of these guys, we should be expecting to even be Jordan Poole. That's a good role player. It's not a great player, but you're not getting anything out of the way they're doing things right now. You're now 7 games below 500. You're not going, at best, you're going to keep this squad and get knocked out in the first play-in game. That's your ceiling on the season. Maybe you win 1 play-in game. That's the Bulls' ceiling on the season. The floor is obviously getting as close to the bottom of the lottery as humanly possible. But regardless of any of it, the thing about this season, I think that was always clear from the beginning, was like you want to start to see like how these young guys develop into roles. And, there are times when like we see coaches, get into situations that don't really work for them. And I think that's what we're seeing for the Bulls and Billy Donovan right now. And look, I'm not the biggest Billy Donovan fan. I think if you've been listening to these shows on YouTube or on the Locked On Bulls audio feed, which is like, what's up? Come on over, hit subscribe, join the chat, come vent about the Bulls and what you're seeing on any given night. If you're a Cubs fan, we'll be talking Cubs very soon as well. But like, I don't think he wants this. I don't think Billy Donovan wants this rebuilding team. I don't think he's suited for it. And I think that's what we see with these minutes and these decisions that we're seeing from the young players, is like he wants to stick to his veterans. He wants to try to win basketball games. And I get it. You're a coach. You're on the hot seat, I would imagine. Like I don't know what his contract situation is exactly off the top of my head, but you would think that like playing the young guys at worst case scenario shows that you can develop them and shows the front office and ownership that like, hey, like it didn't work with Vooch, it didn't work with LaVine, but like Patrick Williams, who like I know was mentioned in the chat earlier about like wanting to trade him, please, thank you, sign me up for that. But like at least it's like, hey, like we found defined roles for these young players. We found a defined role. Like if you are going to pay Josh Giddey, what is his defined role? I still keep thinking it's strange that like when they have close games, because it feels like it's been a minute. I mean, obviously the Clippers game, but like on a consistent basis, they don't have close games anymore. That Josh Giddey's signed, traded for, and then doesn't close basketball games. Like it's strange to me. And I did like what seeing Giddey and Lonzo on the court together tonight. And if they keep Lonzo, I do hope we see more of that, because I do think it's at least more entertaining basketball, even if it's not winning basketball. Because I feel like that's all we can kind of hope for as Bulls fans right now, right? Is be entertained, not be totally miserable when you're watching these teams and playing the young guys and getting them on the court now, when your lead's collapsing on itself and the Warriors are running away with it, after the trade deadline when, hopefully they're rebuilding, playing those guys, like we can all stomach at least a rebuild because we're just so used to it in Chicago sports right now. Frankly, that's what everyone's doing. It's annoying that everyone basically is rebuilding except for maybe two teams, like maybe the Cubs and maybe the Bears will not be a full rebuild with Ben Johnson now as the head coach of the team. But the Bulls need to get into this rebuild. This trade deadline cannot get here fast enough. I'm fascinated, like the decisions that they're going to make as a front office, if they're going to be stubborn about their asking prices and the players that they could potentially, get in return. Moody is a guy like tonight. I don't think he would be an option in a Vucevic trade, but like, You never know. That's someone that like I would be open to if the Warriors happen to be interested in trading him for Nikola Vucevic. So I'm like you guys. I'm ready for the rebuild to get here. I'm tired of watching Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic and Patrick Williams lose to guys I've never heard of. Like this is the same as that Atlanta Hawks game from like what, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, where you're losing to G Leaguers. Like at least Steph Curry was on the court for a while, but it's the bottom of the barrel of the Warriors roster that just destroys you. So, not a fun night for the Chicago Bulls. A fun first half, and a fun little 5.5 minute stretch from Zach LaVine at the end of the first half where he scored 14 points in less than 5.5 minutes. But after that, way downhill from that point. All right, best and worst moments of tonight's game. We're going to try to, we're going to try to be a little positive here. We're trying to find a couple moments from tonight's game, best moments. I got 2 of them, and then we'll do a bunch of the worst moments that happened as well tonight and just recap those for the Bulls. 131-106 loss to the Golden State Warriors. Next here on the Locked On Bulls postcast on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories this year was going to my son, a basketball game with my son, his first professional basketball game. He's about to turn 4 years old. Took him to his first game. We used Gametime to do it. The energy and excitement was absolutely unforgettable. Gametime has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Gametime Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I always tell people, like, I live in Houston now. I lived in Chicago basically my whole life, but I've lived in Houston the last 10 years, moving down here for my full-time work in radio. But whenever I have friends down here that are traveling to Chicago and they're going to go to a Cubs game, and they always say, like, where do I go? What do I do? I tell them to use Gametime because you always make sure you get that seat view to make sure you're not at Wrigley behind a giant cement pole. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's Gametime. All right, best and worst moments of the game. We will take your recommendations here as well. As Samity says here in the chat, worst moment the entire second half of the game. I totally agree. The second half was a disaster. Best moments. Let's find two here that I've got. Josh Giddey had that nice two-handed bounce pass to Julian Phillips. It was a really nice play. Julian Phillips botches the layup, but Josh Giddey, A-plus effort. Drives to the hole or runs to the hoop, gets it off the glass, puts the layup in himself. Also, I would say the Nikola Vucevic steal that led to the Maz Buzelis dunk, who will be participating in the slam dunk contest there in the Golden State Warriors arena in just a couple weeks here. Excited to see that. Bunch of young rookies. So that dunk, the and one, like those are probably the two best moments. And then I would say like the 14-point stretch in less than 5.5 minutes from Zach LaVine at the end of the first half. So those are the best moments of the game. The worst moments of the game. I mentioned this one a little bit earlier. The Bulls go down 16, and they then go down the court, and within less than 5 seconds, Josh Giddey rips a three for no reason. The offense is not set. It's not a good shot. He's not particularly open either. Like, it's actually pretty good defense, and he bricks it. And it's just like, what are you doing? Why is that your thought process? Why do you think that's a good idea? I don't like that shot for Zach LaVine. I don't like that shot for Kobe White. I don't like that shot for Nikola Vucevic. I hate that shot for Josh Giddey. It makes no logical sense. When he's having a really good night, honestly, attacking the basket, he does have one three in this game, 2 threes in this game where he had the one little crossover and hit that three early on. He goes 2 for 4 from the 3-point line in his double-double, 16 points and 11 rebounds. But there's just no reason for Josh Giddey to take that shot. It really just does not make any logical sense to why he would choose to do that. And then, of course, you have just like I said, the entire second half, as the chat said. These guys who are nobodies crushing you from three, really on a night where, Buddy Hield is not good. Steph Curry is human looking, but his post is, hitting a career high in threes. And not just a career high in threes and points, which again seems to be just the thing the Bulls allow. It really feels like, I don't know, like 15 times this year. Like I'm guessing where like we have to say that X player has a season high or a career high on the season against the Bulls, or a team has scored more points in a quarter than they have the entire season. Like it's just strange that like the Bulls are the ultimate like get right team. Like, and that doesn't even happen to the worst of the worst teams in the NBA. But the Bulls just seem to like unlock something. Maybe it's defensive effort. I would imagine is quite connected to that. But yeah, so those were bad moments. My least favorite moment, and I'm glad they actually got this one correct. I really thought they were going to call a flagrant on Lonzo. I hate that rule. It's ironic that they were challenging it with playing the Warriors because it is the Zaza Pachulia rule. So I guess it goes in like one of the better moments of tonight's game. Just as like a basketball fan, I just despise that you close out on a guy quick and your foot is in the realm of the offensive player. And they even have to look at it as a flagrant. When like you think back to the Zaza Pachulia play, it was so clear. He stuck his foot intentionally into Kawhi Leonard's landing zone and destroyed his ankle. Like that was a clear play. So I'm glad they didn't do that. But like I just hate that it was called in general a foul. And then that, you're going to have just the even fact you have to review it for a flagrant at all. I think it's just a dumb rule. So I'm glad that they got that one correct. But yeah, just the entire second half was bad. It was bad decisions by Billy Donovan, and I will throw him in this category as well. Just, it's cool to unload the bench at some point, but unload it earlier. Like just, you got 9 points from Vooch after he scores 7 of the first 15. Like, why are they playing? Like why are these guys playing out there? Like, it's not like Vooch, like, I can't imagine the Warriors were out there tonight, like their front office and Steve Kerr were watching Nikola Vucevic play basketball tonight. We're like, yeah, like that's the guy. That's the guy that puts us over the hump this season and really puts us back onto where we want to be without Klay Thompson and with the banged up Draymond Green and Buddy Hield. Like that's the guy. Like so it was a bad night for that too. Where like you just didn't even have like it's not even like you had the show off night. Like this would have been the night if I was the front office. I would have told Vooch like, hey, go score 40. Like, give me another one of those 40 burgers, where you had like a week and a half ago. Like, go out there, dominate the Golden State Warriors. Everybody just keep giving them the basketball. Increase your trade value, and we'll get you out of here. So you can stop kicking the desk in anger like he's done a couple times in the last month. So, not a fun one for the Bulls as they lose 131-106 to the Golden State Warriors. They move to 19-26 on the season. About, six games left. I think it is now 5 games left until the trade deadline. So for those asking for them to make a trade soon, I think we're close. I think we're close. We might have to wait until actually the trade deadline day. And that will be an interesting postcast show the next day. We are here live after every single Bulls game. It doesn't matter if it starts at 7 o'clock. It doesn't matter if it starts at 9 o'clock. And I say that because, reminder for the Cubs fans out there that are listening to this, the first 2 Cubs games of the season start at 5 o'clock in the morning. So yes, I will be live at 8 a.m. to recap Cubs-Dodgers when they're playing in Japan or in Korea, wherever it's at. But I will be here for you on the YouTube channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed to the Locked On Bulls YouTube channel or the Locked On Bulls audio feed, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, whatever, they're doing great work every day, especially a lot of stuff. They more focus on like the day-to-day stuff with the Bulls, and they're doing a lot of great work around the trade deadline, all the rumors that are going on. So head on over, hit that subscribe button there, hit it here as well. Thank you guys for watching. Maybe the next one will be better for the Bulls, but we might just be counting down the days until the trade deadline and the young guns really start running the show for the Chicago Bulls. So thanks for watching. I'm Joe George. Talk to you next time. Peace.